What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Formula One Gridlock podcast. My name, of course, is Nathan Charles, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host, Chase Bozung. Chase, how are you?
I'm doing great. I think it was a really, really good race, so I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic race. We, of course, are talking about the race that happened this past weekend. We're actually recording day of the race. This is like a first for us.
Yeah,
We're getting very professional with this, Chase.
yeah, definitely. Moving up in the world.
Formula One STC Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah, and it was a great race. So let's just jump into it. I'm going to give you the top 10 and the DNF. So number 1, taking his first win of the season, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Second place, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Third place, his teammate Carlos Sainz in the second Ferrari. Fourth place, Sergio Perez qualified on pole, ended fourth, but he had a great weekend overall. Fifth place, George Russell in the Mercedes. George sticking that Mercedes in the top 5 again. Good for him. Sixth place, Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. Seventh place, Lando Norris pulling that McLaren all the way up into seventh. Good for him. Eighth place, Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri. Ninth place, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas. And 10th place, the 7-time world champion, Lewis Hamilton, barely getting a point this weekend in his Mercedes, which we don't see an awful lot. There were a lot of DNFs in this race, Chase. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Alexander Albon, Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Daniel Ricciardo, Nicholas Latifi, and Yuki Tsunoda all did not finish the race. And those are both of the Williams, an Alpine, an Alfa Romeo, a McLaren, and an AlphaTauri. So we had a lot of DNFs, but the race was fantastic. So Chase, I think we just need to get into it. Give me your 3 winners for this race.
My 3 winners was tough. There's a lot of winners that I'd like to talk about, but I had to choose 3, so here we are. My first winner, not the actual winner, is Ferrari. They may have not come home with a 1-2, but they still have both of their people on the podium. They're easily the team with the most points at this point, and they're doing exactly what they need to be doing to be considered a good team again. And they're doing it great. I mean, apart from the fact that they finally got bested by Max Verstappen, it was a great race by both of them. And I mean, I'm so happy with what Ferrari is now, because Ferrari last year was the team that we would, complain about. But now, there's nothing to complain about. Yeah, they didn't come home 1-2, but that's in an ideal world. Both of them are on the podium. It's my easy winner. My second winner is the literal winner, Max Verstappen. I think he had a phenomenal race. And I think he's learned a little patience from last year. Maybe the critics got to him. Maybe his driving instructors got to him. I don't know what it is. But he struck at the right moment to bring it home when he needed to bring it home.
Yeah.
And then my third winner is the track.
Mm-hmm.
I love this track. I was thinking earlier today, I was like, this is Monaco of the Middle East. I mean, they're hugging every wall. People are flying into walls. I love the track. I loved the race. This is like one of my new favorite tracks. It's just so good every time we come here, and we've been here twice.
Most definitely. I wrote down how stinking awesome this track was too. So I'm glad you brought it up. We'll talk about that later. My 3 winners were a little bit different. Obviously, I had Max. This was a fantastic race from him. I really think he showed how important he not only like he is as a driver, but like no other driver could have done that.
Mm-hmm.
In a car, this Red Bull car that is good. It's a fast car, but it's not as good as the Ferrari car. Max won this race, not the car.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
My other 2 winners were a little different from yours. I had Alpine as one of my winners, and I know that one of them didn't finish the race. But for
Mhm.
the majority of this race, Alpine was running 6th and 7th, or like they were like right underneath the Red Bulls and the Ferraris. And that is exactly where Alpine wants to be. Because if they are seriously going to consider challenging for that third spot again, this is what they have to do. And it's really unfortunate that they had engine problems and that Fernando Alonso had to retire, because they would have gone 6-7 in this race, which I think is exactly what Alpine needs if they want to be seriously considering going for that third place. Because right now, that third place is up for contention. Mercedes have not looked great. This was a bad outing from Lewis. And if Alpine had been able to secure that 6-7, I think in the future, who knows? I don't see Mercedes getting fourth, but if Alpine can week in and week out score 5-6, 6-7, I mean, we could be talking about a Mercedes fourth place in the constructors this year, and that's crazy that I'm even having that thought. My second winner, of course, has to be Haas. This team was so bad the last 2 years, and Kevin Magnussen is driving the absolute pants off that car. Mick Schumacher obviously crashed in qualifying. Terrible crash. It was a nasty crash.
That
I'm
was
glad he's
terrible.
okay. I'm really glad he's okay. And who knows? He was in 11th. I think he would have made Q2. I can't remember which qualifying. He would have probably had a decent race, maybe scored points. Kevin Magnussen getting 9th, albeit, it's only 2 points. But Haas didn't score any points last year.
Yeah.
These 2 points, I mean, what Haas is doing is astounding me. It is only the second week, but I seriously consider, going into this weekend, I was like, that 5th place from Kevin last weekend, or 5th or 6th, I can't remember what he got. That was a fluke. It won't happen again. This Haas is going to go back to the end of the grid. And it didn't. He qualified well. He raced well. So, this Haas team has new life, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I absolutely think they are another winner this weekend. All right, Chase. Go ahead.
Jump in here, yeah. I think I didn't think last week was a fluke with Kevin Magnussen. He was going to be one of my winners this week, but I just had to choose other people over him.
Sure.
I think, like you said, Haas, they're really pulling out the punches comparatively to their previous seasons. And I think, oh man, after watching Kevin Magnussen for 2 weeks, being back in what used to be easily the worst car on the grid, I'm excited to see what Magnussen's going to do, because I think if he does well enough, he's staying in F1. I don't know. I don't quite remember him a couple years ago, when he was at Haas and all of that stuff and all the crap that went down there. But looking at the new Kevin Magnussen, he's in the top 10 with the Haas. What are we talking about here? I mean, this is lunacy right now. So I think I think this isn't a fluke. I think he's going to be consistently scoring points the whole year, whether it be 1 or 2. That's beside the point. I think he's going to consistently score points the whole year.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, when it comes down to it for these smaller teams like Haas, every point matters. Mm-hmm. Every point matters.
He's getting their name out there. He's doing what they haven't been doing for 2 years, which is getting a good name out for Haas. For the last 2 years, it's just been, oh man, Haas sucks. Oh man, Haas is sponsored by some dude who's not real or whatever that scandal was.
The rich energy thing, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chase, let's talk about the losers, because there had to be some winners and there had to be some losers. So who do you got?
I got a controversial loser comparatively to you.
Yeah, I know.
But
what is
I'm going to save that one a little bit. My first loser is the fact that we had no lights out and away we go. No, I'm joking. That's not a real loser, but I was disappointed. I looked away for half a second. I didn't even realize the race started. I was waiting for that iconic line and it just wasn't there. But anyway, that's my real first loser.
You don't know
is,
what you got till it's gone, Chase.
Yeah, exactly. My real first loser is Lewis in qualifying.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Bad.
But I said to my mom, I was like, it's almost better just a DNF at that point. A 7-time world champion in the team that's been winning for the last 6 years out in the first qualifying, and it's not, oh man, I lost my whole engine. I don't like that. I don't like that for Mercedes. I don't like that for Lewis. That's just bad light on the whole thing. When I saw that, I was just like, oh my goodness, what is happening? Because George was up there, so you can't blame it 100% on the car, right? There had to be something. So that's my first loser. My second loser, despite the 7th place finish by one of them, is McLaren. It's painful watching McLaren still. We're 2 weeks in. Last week was terrible. This week wasn't much better. I mean, 7th place by Norris, congrats. But also, for half the race, Ricciardo was last. And then a DNF by Ricciardo. And then looking at qualifying, they're not doing anything special. And like you said, when you introduced him, Norris had to pull the car over the finish line to get him in 7th. I don't know what wonders that kid is working, but he's working tons of wonders because it's very clear that their car is not good, and they need to change that fast. Then my third loser, this is the controversial one, everyone, is one of Nate's winners. I chose Alpine as my third loser. And it's not for, oh man, I'm so disappointed that Alonso DNF'd, because that really was painful. I do agree that was painful, yes. I chose them because of the 12 laps that they almost threw each other into the walls and lost all their points. I could not stand to watch these two racers. Like, it was great racing, but like, watching these two racers almost throw each other into the wall and throw all their points away is painful. I don't know what leadership is going on right now, but if I was a race leader, I would have been like, Ocon, stop trying to kill your teammate. You're on the same team here. Come home 6 and 7, and we'll get a ton of points. But like, he's almost throwing Alonso into the wall and then braking late. It was phenomenal racing, but it was painful to watch because at the end of the day, I knew they were on the same team. And I've watched this happen with Red Bull and numerous other teams where both racers have a hothead and they want to get more points, and they just end up ruining the team's chances. So apart from that, they had a phenomenal race, and I'm really proud of them. But my point is, they were so close to losing it all, and they didn't put their foot down fast enough. The situation just kind of mellowed out,
I don't know, Chase. I gotta disagree with you on this one. I think this stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of what we are here to do. We are here to race, Chase. We're not here to play nice with our teammates. We're here to race. And that is what Alpine was doing. Look, I understand that at the end of the day, the team wants points and they want to maximize their points opportunities. But at this moment, while these guys are in the car, I say you just got to let them race. This is what we're here for. Let them do it. I understand, neither one of these guys wants to crash. They're not going to take it that far. I think you really do have to, and I'm glad they let them race because it was fantastic to watch. I agree. It was awesome to watch.
Here's the thing, though. I have a past with Ocon, which is, I don't actually have a past with Ocon.
You have a personal past with Ocon.
Yeah, right. No, Ocon's done a lot of very, annoying and egotistical things on the track, in my opinion. The prime example is he's getting lapped by Max Verstappen in Brazil, I believe it was. Max is in first place, and he just crashes Max out. Arguably, it's somewhat on Max's fault, but you're getting lapped. And then on lap 5, there's no space on his left. Fernando starts going for that space, and then he pulls further left in almost at the very last second. So I'm with you. like it was phenomenal racing, and you let him race, but there's a part of Ocon that's so close to the line that I don't personally like, because it's just he could have crashed them both out there. He should not have pulled over, and you make mistakes, and I get that, but these guys are making more than what my house costs, so you'd hope that they don't, throw their own team in it. Anyway,
I can understand where you're coming from, but I am very much pro let them race. This is a motor race. We went motor racing,
You've always been very pro race.
I've always been very pro racing. So, my 3 losers pretty similar to yours. Had McLaren. I mean, I'm a McLaren guy. I bleed orange. I'm McLaren till the end, but man, something, it wasn't a great qualifying. It was better than last week. It was a better qualifier than last week, 11-12 instead of like 15-16. And thank God Lando scored us some points. I mean, jeez, oh Pete. But something happened in the beginning. We didn't get the full story because Daniel pitted early. I think he probably didn't like the tires he was on. So he was then last most of the race. But that was kind of like the strategy. And then, of course, I think he was in the points or close to them when he DNF'd. So
he was behind Norris. I think it was 11-12.
Okay. So I don't love us barely scoring points. I don't love us. We weren't even, I don't think we were really that close to the Alpines, which I think is who we really should be fighting here. Yeah. We're getting there, and Lando did come right behind Esteban, but there were definitely some people between those two. Fernando and Valtteri were both in between those two, in between Esteban and Lando. So Lando, was the beneficiary of 2 DNFs, bumping him up 2 places. And that's just not good enough for me. I think that this is another loss for McLaren. And I think, but the bright side is this was 10 times better than last weekend, because it was really bad last weekend. This week we scored some points, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel here for McLaren. My second loser, of course, Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. That was terrible, but I think most of it is, obviously he puts it together on track, as Lewis always does. But yeah, I don't know, like you're the best team potentially in history, Mercedes. Is this what is this?
With statistically speaking, the greatest driver to ever live.
Yeah, what is this? This is bad. This was really, really, really bad. My third and my final loser has to be Sergio Perez. Checo puts it on pole with a fantastic lap in qualifying. Is pulling away from Charles Leclerc in second while Max is in third. At the beginning of this race, Ferrari are going to try to undercut him, so they're going to try to pit Leclerc first, and then Red Bull is like, "Nuh-uh, we're going to match you." So Sergio goes in, Charles bails and goes out. So Sergio gets caught then in a I forget who crashed. Latifi crash. It's always a Latifi crash.
It was a Latifi crash. He was the first to crash.
And so Sergio is on new tires, but he gets dropped back into fourth, and Charles also then gets to go get new tires for free, and Charles stays in first most of the race, and then of course Max catches him at the end. That is so unfortunate for Sergio, who raced so well this weekend. You could tell he was just feeling the track. I think he might have ended up with the fastest lap.
It was, based off of looking at points, it was Leclerc. He has 19 points, and I believe second place gives 18.
Okay. Yeah, it was Charles Leclerc with the fastest lap.
Yeah.
But Sergio had some great laps.
Yeah, and like you said, that qualifying, wow, that was good.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Ferrari car is faster, and we can tell that. And he did exactly what he needed to do there for himself and the team.
He did a 28.2 in qualifying. Oh my, what a lap that was. All right. So Sergio Perez, he himself is not a loser. It's just he had such terrible luck. He had such terrible
bad
luck.
Situation is the loser.
Yeah, this race. So that is going to be my three losers. So we've got a couple main talking points from the race, Chase, that obviously we've already kind of touched on. We've got the Checo really good pole lap. We've got his early pit stop. But, I mean, let's talk about, Ferrari. Let's talk about Ferrari and because it seems like so far this season, it is going to be Ferrari versus Max Verstappen. I mean, what do you think? I mean, how do you see this playing out in the future?
I say don't count out. I say Ferrari versus Red Bull. As much as Max is a force to be reckoned with, Perez got that pole, and that changed a lot of the dynamic.
True.
So I don't think we should check out Checo. A little fun.
I think it would be fair to say that because Sergio was able to get pole, Max was able to win this race.
Yeah, you could definitely argue those points. So my point is just Red Bull versus Ferrari is what I'm kind of going with here. At the end of the day, it's almost definitely going to be Max who has more points than Perez, but that's beside the point. I think it's Ferrari Red Bull all season. I really do, because no one is stepping up to the plate to them. We're doing the exact same thing we did last year, where Red Bull and Mercedes were so far ahead of everybody else it wasn't even close. This year, Mercedes is getting knocked out in Q2. Q1, sorry. McLaren's who knows where.
McLaren's missing.
Yeah, McLaren's just gone. Alpine, a mid-pack team as of the last couple of years, is like, hey, I'll take some points. Pierre Gasly's still there, and Haas is in the top 10. Yeah, who's going to challenge Ferrari and Red Bull? The answer is no one besides each other. So I think whole season is Ferrari and Red Bull. But the real question for you, Nate, is,
of course,
is it Max versus Charles or Max versus Sainz? Prediction.
That's a great question. I think this weekend really solidifies how much better Charles Leclerc is than Carlos Sainz. I say much better. I don't mean that. I think they're both fantastic drivers, but I think Charles is the superior driver. I think he just has consistently been better. I think he's just quicker. He just finds, even look at qualifying, he just is just that much quicker. And Carlos is really good. And I don't know if he's like the best number 2 driver, but I think Ferrari probably have the strongest of the driver pairing because they're so similar. Because you're gonna get the exact same thing from them week in and week out. Like, I don't feel like that with a lot of these other teams.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the year, it really is going to be Max versus Charles. But I could foresee a very similar thing happening to last year, where the Drivers' Championship is pretty close. But the constructor, like Ferrari wins the constructors, but Max wins the drivers because Carlos Sainz is so good at just sticking with Charles that whole time. I could foresee something like that happening.
I think those are really valid points and really good opinions. I also agree that I think it's going to be Max again this year. Obviously, we're shooting darts into the dark with, a little more knowledge as to where the targets are, but 2 races in, I do think it's going to be Max championship as of right now, Ferrari constructors. But I agree that Leclerc so far is doing way better. And I also think that Leclerc is one of the best people at qualifying. Last year, he was out qualifying Red Bull and Mercedes, and we know that Ferrari wasn't anywhere close to the cars. But I personally think it's going to be Sainz at the end of the day versus Verstappen. I think it'll be really close between the two.
Really?
But Sainz was 5th last year in drivers. He was the next closest person outside of Red Bull and Mercedes. I think Sainz has like the consistency that Leclerc is lacking because, like I said, last Last year, Leclerc had some phenomenal races, but then in other cases, he just wasn't consistent. I think Sainz way more consistent,
Okay.
and I think that consistency is going to let him pass his teammate in points this year.
Interesting. I think that's an extremely valid point. I think like the consistency obviously is something we can't value yet. It's this X factor that we just don't have two races into the season. So I think that's an extremely valid point. One I hadn't thought of. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for Carlos and Ferrari and Charles, but I don't know. I still think I think because now like this is his shot, right? This is it. This is it for Charles. He realizes we've got a good car. I'm faster than my teammate so far. I'm faster than my teammate. I've had obviously I won the first race. I had a damn good shot at winning this race. I mean, this is it. Like there's no muddling around waiting for next year. This is it for Charles. And I think like it's true. Maybe we haven't seen it. Maybe he hasn't been as consistent as we would like him to be for, that Ferrari would like him to be. But this is the year. Like if he's going to be consistent in a year, it's got to be this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think I don't know what the future holds because I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know whether Mercedes and all the other team gets their crap together next year and it's a completely different sport next year. But I'm with you. This is Leclerc's shot for a championship. He's got the best car on the grid. He's a phenomenal racer, and he doesn't have much competition when we look at the top teams of the last 6 years. So yeah. I agree.
All right, Chase, why don't we take a look now and update ourselves on both the drivers and the Constructors' Championship. So for drivers, Charles Leclerc still in first, 45 points, followed by his teammate Carlos Sainz with 33, followed by Max Verstappen with 25. George Russell in fourth currently with 22 points. Lewis Hamilton in fifth with 16. It's tight still. Obviously, we are pretty close. Obviously, only second race of the season, but Max Verstappen with that win. 25 points. He jumps right back up into contention. I mean, that's all he needed. He needed one.
Yeah. I mean, right there, though, proves my consistency point with Sainz. Not actually with Sainz, but look at Russell.
Yeah.
He is 3 points behind Max because obviously Max DNF'd the first race and we're 2 races in. But consistency for Russell gets him 3 points behind someone who just won a race. So consistency is not something to undersell in this sport, because 2 DNFs, you get 0 points versus someone who gets 7 points for both those races. You're already 14 points behind that person now.
Absolutely. Sorry. I'm yawning a little bit. All right. Constructors now, obviously first place, it's Ferrari. 78 points.
Big
They're
lead.
doing real well. Number 2, Mercedes. Number 3 with this weekend's pretty good outing. Red Bull with 37 points. Fourth place, Alpine with 16, and Haas in fifth with 12 points.
Wild. By the way, Mercedes has 38 points. I don't think you mentioned it.
Yes, I did. I said Mercedes, didn't I? Mercedes 38.
You said Mercedes. I don't think you said the points. Either way, they're 1 point ahead of Red Bull at the point.
1 point ahead of Red Bull. So, still early days, but mamma mia. A 40-point lead for Ferrari already in the Constructors. Yeah.
Ferrari, they're definitely the golden child to bring home the Constructors.
The favorites, this year. Absolutely. Yeah, a 1-2, right? A 1-2 and now a 2-3.
Yeah. Oh, that's strong. That's a great race.
Almost maximum points from the first 2 races for Ferrari. So
yeah.
Gotta give it to them. They are coming out of the gates very, very hot. Looking forward to that Constructors. Wow, that gap for the Constructors is a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, and to throw in this, currently, Charles is the fastest lap for both races.
Interesting. Good to know. All right, Chase, let's take a look at the next race. The next race is Australia. We're back in Melbourne after 2 years not being
Yep.
there, I think.
Yep. 2 years.
Obviously, it got canceled the COVID year, and then last year, Australia's COVID restrictions were too harsh, and Formula One decided not to race there.
Mm-hmm.
Their loss, because I like this track. I think it's a fun track. What do you
It's
think?
a good track. I mean, I haven't seen it for 2 years, but I like it. Can't complain too much about it.
Absolutely. So we first raced here in 1996. There's 58 total laps, and the lap record. Let's see if you can guess who the lap record was set by.
Unfortunately, I know it's by Michael Schumacher.
Ah,
I was looking up the track as well.
you did your research, Chase. Damn
Yeah.
you. A
Yeah.
124.1 set by Michael Schumacher in 2004. That's quite a while ago. Were you alive then, Chase? Were you alive in 2004?
I was alive then. I wasn't very old, but I was alive then.
I was alive as well. I was pretty old.
You weren't that old.
I was 6 years old. I was born in 98.
All right.
Should be interesting. And let's take a look at who won in 2019. Obviously, different set of regulations, but a few familiar faces on the podium. You had Valtteri Bottas taking first place in the Mercedes, followed by his teammate Lewis Hamilton in second, and the eventual. Oh wait, no, he wouldn't. And a future world champion in Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari came fourth. Wow, what a blast from the past. Hey, crazy result, 6th place in this race, Kevin Magnussen in the Haas.
There he is.
That's kind of weird.
You.
That's kind of weird.
He's a good driver.
He is a good driver. A lot of fun names from this race. Daniel Ricciardo still at Renault. Alex Albon when he was with Toro Rosso.
Ooh.
Wow. Very fun. Very fun looking back at this. So now it's time to. I think it's just time to spitball, Chase. I mean, what do you want to talk about? Give me some talking points.
Yeah, we can spitball. To spitball a little close to the last thing, I'm interested to see. This race we're gonna have Vettel back.
Yeah,
finally.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm interested to see what he did. 4th in 2019, 1st in 2018, 1st in 2017. That's strong on this track. I'm interested to see what he do. But to get more off topic from that, I'm going to go off of a point you made last week, which is the FIA is getting what they wanted.
Yep.
This race, wow. I mean, it's exactly what they wanted. They wanted actual. They didn't want someone who's just winning and running ahead. They wanted actual racing and passing and fighting for the position. Wow, they got it. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about that Alpine thing. 2 more cars joined that at one point. And Charles versus Max. This was a good race. I'm excited for this season. These rules really did what they wanted to do. And I honestly think it's the teams lacking that's not making it better. I think the rules are really good, and I think it's the teams failing to maximize them that's making people like Mercedes and McLaren not be talked about. So halfway to the end of the season, wow. I mean, Abu Dhabi might be insane for all we know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think absolutely. These new regulations have allowed this to really happen. I think racecraft, that term of a driver's skill, driving with somebody and eventually getting around them has become more important than probably in the last
speed.
It is so much more important now that a driver can follow and pass than just you just kind of follow them and then just you're in the faster car, so you can just take them on the straight. Guys are really racing out there, and so far these first 2 races have been so good. We've seen elements of I mean, how many times did we get like a 1-2 battle last season? Only a handful. We've gotten it in both races this season so far. I
Mm-hmm.
really hope that continues because it makes watching the race so much better when one person isn't just pulling out and just going. And just
Yeah.
they're never in doubt as long as, they don't have a bad pit stop or they crash. Like as long as we there is intrigue up until as close to the end as you can get. That is what the viewers want. That is what advertisers want. That is what people want. They want to see a good race to the very end if they can. And so far these last two races have been exactly that.
Yeah. And to tack on to that, something that I think is going to matter a lot more this season is pit stop strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, pit stops are a lot longer. We got different rules with tires, you know, and we got different cars that now destroy tires less or more given last year. Um, so I think as a whole, it's just becoming more about everything and less about, oh, I'm just like you said, fastest on the straight, and I'm a 7-time world champion. What
Yep.
can you do? Yeah, I mean, we got we got more. I mean, most of them were last year, but we got more DRS. So
Mm-hmm.
it's. I
Yeah,
think they're getting what they want.
I think DRS is also more important. It's obviously been important, but
Mm-hmm.
it really is showing a profound effect when you can get the DRS. Like guys are like not passing guys on corners so that they can get DRS and pass them on like immediately
Yeah,
on the straight. Like
like
that's
that's
how like that is racecraft right there, and it's beautiful to
yeah,
watch.
that's it. That's insane strategy, and like, a perfect example of that is when Ocon cut the corner, had to give the position back to Alonso, waited, or gave it back to him right as they were coming up on the DRS thing, so he could use the DRS.
I love this guy.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
it's
it's great
cool.
to watch. It's great to watch. I wanted to talk about a man who I have given a lot of guff to and is
Mm.
really proving me wrong so far this season. And that
Mm-hmm.
has to be Valtteri Bottas. I have been known by people close to me as a Valtteri Bottas hater. I thought he was overrated. I thought he never deserved that seat in McLaren in Mercedes. I thought they should have given it to George Russell last year. Valtteri Bottas was a bum. I said all those things in my sleep.
And
Valtteri
on the
Bottas
podcast.
and on the podcast. Valtteri Bottas is absolutely proving me wrong. I know he DNF'd this race, but that wasn't his fault. His car broke
Yeah,
down.
you
He
can't blame a
was
driver for the car breaking.
he was in the top 10. He was going to score points. He's murdering his teammate. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah,
it's unfair what he's doing to Zhou
mind
Guanyu.
you, rookie.
Rookie,
So
absolutely a rookie.
compared to
But
a literal veteran at this point,
compared to a veteran who knows how to race a car, he knows how to set up a car. He's
was with
putting
one of the
in,
best teams of all time. Like you
yeah,
said, he knows what he's doing.
he knows what he's doing in that Alfa Romeo, and I guarantee that his mechanics in Alfa Romeo are loving him because he knows Valtteri Bottas is a very intelligent guy. We don't give him enough credit for how good of a driver he is. I know I never did, but his time so far at Alfa Romeo has been fantastic, and I think that Alfa Romeo is a better team, is a substantially better team because he is on it, because of the winning mentality that he brings. I can't stress to you how important a winning mentality is in a sport like
Hmm.
this. It's the exact same reason why Williams is on the up and up, because they brought in they brought in this guy from endurance racing who I forget his name. I just finished Drive to Survive. I should remember his name.
Hmm.
He has a winner's mindset. He is not there to just lay down and let the dogs have at him. He's there
Hmm.
to win, and he's willing to make the choices and make the changes that need to be done in order to win. And I think that while Alfa Romeo was not in as dire straits as Williams probably was, bringing in somebody who is a proven winner has to be that has to be a brilliant move by whoever is in charge of Alfa Romeo. I think Valtteri Bottas is by far and away the best thing that could have happened to this team this year.
I agree. I think you make some really phenomenal points. And I agree that he is kind of showing us that, what we said last season kind of makes us sound like fools, that we don't know what we're talking about in the sport and all of that.
That's okay, though.
Yeah, but I'm going to tack on a couple devil's advocates here. I agree. I think you cannot understate what he's doing for the team. It's invaluable. He was the perfect pickup choice. He's doing phenomenally this season. I agree with all of those things. It's not what I'm disagreeing with. I'm sitting here questioning a couple things, right? So the first is he never really did anything special at Mercedes. I mean, he had his moments, but I mean consistently. The debate I'm having now is quite a lot of debates. Number one, was he held back by Mercedes as being their number 2 driver? Was that his problem all this time? And we just couldn't know because we were never allowed to hear it? Is he doing phenomenally right now because of their car? I don't really think it's that one. That's an idea that can float around.
No, yeah.
And then the other thing I'm wondering is he doing so good based off of the lack of the others on the grid? I'm being a huge devil advocate here, and I've never been a fan of Valtteri, and I'm with you that I didn't like him at Mercedes, but after saying all of that, at the end of the season we'll know. And to be honest, if he proves me wrong, I'm happy. Why? Because he has this redemption arc. If he proves me wrong this season, right, by being in the top 6 or whatever drivers on the grid at the end of the day points wise, he has done what not many people have done, which is going from one of the greatest teams to a mid-pack and then proving that it wasn't the team or the car that made him.
Yeah.
If he can do amazing this year, he can say to everyone, including me and including you,
absolutely,
hey, you doubted me when I was on the best team. Well, here I am on a mid-pack team in a mid-pack car doing the same thing. So, yeah. Let's see. I think it's really interesting to me, honestly.
Yeah. All right, Chase. Well, do you want to move on to predictions, or do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I'll bring up one thing. It shouldn't be too long. Did you happen to pay much attention to the new corner cutting rule?
I had heard that they were that the race directors, that like the FIA, they were not going to like tell the teams what to do anymore, that it was up to the teams to decide like what to do with their drivers. I don't know if that means the teams have to communicate with each other.
Well,
but that is really all my knowledge on this subject matter.
Well, I'll expand it, and then maybe you'll find it interesting. Maybe you won't.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't know it, I'm curious to see whether our listeners know it, because we're pretty deep in the F1 universe. So the rule is, I cut the corner. You're in front of me. I cut the corner illegally. I get in front of you. The FIA reviews this. They come to their own decision whether what I did was an accident or what I did was reckless or whatever it may be. I can, of my own accord, give you your position back, or I can say, to heck with that, I'm keeping this position. What happens is, whatever the FIA decides, if they decide it's wrong, that I shouldn't have this position, and I keep it, I get a penalty. But if me and my team decide to give you your position back, I don't get a penalty. But it's up to the team now whether the team gives the position back or not. And the FIA will either penalize you if they think it's wrong, or if they think it's an accident, not penalize you. That's the new rule. And I find that fascinating, because that is now a strategy, in theory.
Yeah. I guess when you say penalty, what does that mean, though? Does that mean
they didn't elaborate? They didn't
Okay.
elaborate from what I learned. I don't know what the penalty is, whether it is a grid place or whether it's 10 seconds or 5 seconds or something like that, right? I don't know what the penalty is, but one exists, and I'm guessing it's by the severity of the action as to what the penalty is.
Sure. I don't know. I think that's interesting. I don't know if I like it or hate it,
Yeah,
but I
exactly.
like it or dislike it. Not hate. Hate's a strong word, but
We'll see how it progresses, right? Because I'm
yeah,
curious. What I want to know right now is, does the FIA tell the team whether they will penalize it or not, right?
sure.
Because that also matters. Whether if if the FIA is like, yeah, we're not going to penalize it, then oh, we gave the position back for no reason. But
Yeah.
maybe that's part of the whole thing. Maybe they won't tell the team until it's said and done, because the commentators were like, it's kind of a morality test.
Yeah, it really is.
So if they don't
Yeah.
tell them, it's completely morality test at this point.
Yeah. That's
I
really
think it's
unique.
fascinating. It's
I
wild.
It is wild. Yeah. Something's gonna happen this season, and we're gonna have to bring this up again and talk
Yep.
about it. But right now, I just say it's interesting, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right, Chase. It's time for my new favorite part of our show,
Mm-hmm.
the predictions and the
Mm-hmm.
scores. So we decided off air that if in your predictions you got the driver correct, you would get 1 point. But if you got the driver and the place correct, you got 3 points. We also, outside of the show, added a weekend winner, the team you thought would score the most points, and that is worth an additional 3 points. So let's go over them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Chase, the last episode, your predictions for the 1, 2, and 3, and
Mm-hmm.
then your weekend winner, you had Charles Leclerc
Yep.
in first. So that's not in the correct position, but you get 1 point because
Mm-hmm.
Charles was on the podium.
Yep.
Second place, you had Max. Again, got the driver correct, but not the place. So another
Mm-hmm.
1 point. Now, third place was Lewis Hamilton, who was nowhere
Yeah.
near.
Couldn't have been, like, given hindsight, couldn't have been a worse choice. Wowzers.
That was not a great one. You get 0 points for that. Your weekend winner,
Mm-hmm.
you thought would be Red Bull.
And I was close. I
You
was
were
close.
close.
One position away.
You
And I
were
was right.
close, but you were not right. And that is
Yep.
0 points. My predictions, however, were quite good.
Yes, they were.
I only got one driver dead on, but
Uh-huh.
I had Max number 1. He wins the race today. That's plus 3 points for me. I'm already ahead, and now I'm
Yep.
just going to add insult to injury. I said Carlos Sainz would get second. He did get third, so that's a point for me. And Charles Leclerc would get third. He got second. That's another point for me, adding my total to 4 points so far. Or no, excuse me, 5 points so far. And then off air, I picked my weekend winner would be Ferrari. Ferrari ends up scoring the most points this
Mhm.
weekend. That's another 3 points for your boy.
Very good weekend.
Very good weekend for me. I'll take it. I'll take those points. I'm like Ferrari. I'm jumping out ahead. It's 8 points to 2. I am in first place right now, Chase. How are you
Yeah.
feeling after a beatdown in the predictions?
The only thing I'm sad about is my Lewis pick. Besides that, I was 1 point away on the Red Bull thing, and I really thought Leclerc was going to do well. But it was a good weekend. I enjoy the game. I'm excited to see how it goes as it continues. And I'm going to throw this out here. Obviously, you may have missed 2 weeks. But if the viewers at home want to play along and you have a good honors system, you can play along with us. You can tweet us on Twitter at F1 Gridlock Podcast. And you can say, hey, these were my 3. I got all 3 dead on. And you can join us. And as long as you got a good, morality and honor system, I'll take you for your word.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So, Chase, time to go. Who do you got for next weekend? 1, 2, and 3. Australia.
This is rough. 2 years out, I can't use previous people, right?
Yeah.
Previous
Yeah.
podiums and all of this stuff. I can only use the two races we've had so far. I'm gonna go with Max number one because I think he does. I think he does what he does this race, or he just leads the whole time. I mean, he played this perfectly, and Max, in my opinion, is the best driver on the grid. I had that opinion all last season, and it didn't fail me last season. I'm going to keep the same opinion. The problem now is, do I go with the Ferraris or do I go with Perez?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is I'm going with Leclerc 2 and Perez 3. I think Leclerc, he's got both of the fastest laps. I mean, it's hard to see him getting passed by someone who's not Max, Even his own teammate.
Sure.
So, and then the winner is, I'm going to go with the prediction, is going to be Red Bull, right? Because
Got it.
both of them are on the podium. I can't go against that unless I want to play super safe, but it's still early. I'm not playing safe. I'm having fun with it. What do you
All
think?
right. I like where your head's at. But I know that Red Bull does not love Australia.
Mm.
Red Bull does not like this track. And you know what team does like this track? Ferrari. Ferrari likes this
Mm.
track. I am going to go with Charles, number one. I think I'm going to go with Sainz, number two. And I'm going to go with
Mm.
Max, number three. I think Ferrari
Interesting.
is going to dominate this weekend.
I
And
could
I'm going to
see it.
stick with Ferrari as my weekend winner. I really think they're going to have a really, really good showing here. I think this track just really suits them. It's got a one or two long straights, but really, this track is mostly turns.
Yeah.
It's got how many DRS zones does it have?
Two.
Two?
Yes.
Two. I really think that the Ferrari is gonna do really, really well around this track. So they're gonna be the weekend winner for me.
I think that's a good choice. I'm going to throw this out here. This has nothing to do with the podium predictions. I think because if we get Vettel back, because he's so good at this track, and also this season's so wild. I mean, we've got greats like Alonso doing so well. I think Vettel's going to have a phenomenal weekend here,
Mm.
especially comparatively to how good Aston Martin's doing, because they're not doing good.
No, they're not.
I
Doing
think
great.
he's going to really come out swinging. He's one of the greats. It's a good track for him, and he's finally back. I think he's going to show us that he's, of skill wise, one of the best on the grid.
Really? Oh, that's a bold prediction. I don't know if I agree, but we'll save that for next week, Chase.
All right.
It has been a pleasure, and I hope to see you next time.
Yep.
All right. See you later.
See ya.